Good evening everyone, I am down at the KTM Centre, my beloved KTM Centre in Hemel Hempstead, to ride this thing. This has been quite heavily requested on the channel actually. The 890 SMT. It's essentially an 890 Adventure but with a 17-inch front wheel. And this should be quite good because I really love that thing, the 890 Adventure. I did turn my camera back up, didn't I? Yeah, I did. Just filming my crotch the whole time. So I really love the 890 Adventure. It sort of harks back to my motocross days where I could sort of knees forward, proper like this kind of style, like proper aggressive. So in theory, this thing should be fantastic. It's been heavily requested, as I said. So this is essentially a small version of my screen on my Super Adventure over there. Let's get started. Before we get started, I think my first initial impressions of this, I really liked the look of it. I think it looks really cool. It would have been nice if they put in the full fat 890 Duke R engine tune into it, which is like the 120 odd brake horsepower. This is 104, I think. So, I mean, it still should have a shed load of go. The only other thing I didn't actually like is this tank. That looks like the tank underneath my external panels of my bike. So it looks like this should just carry on up there. So that looked a little bit unfinished. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, that was my first impression. However, MotoProWorks, that did the decal kit on my bike, have done a load of decal kits for this. They look really cool, which covers up that. So that's probably what I'd end up doing if I went for this. And obviously, because it's me, I've got a discount code for MotoProWorks. Link in the description, 15% off. Let's get going, shall we? I thought this was going to be a really tall bike. I am the lofty heights of 5'9", so really am like average height for a guy in the UK. I've got an inseam of about 31-32 inches. I can get both feet on the floor. Neither are flat, but they're both down quite solidly. Of course, she feels light already. I know that sounds ridiculous. Obviously just getting off my bike. Consider I'm in first gear doing 2000 RPM. The mapping is very smooth on the uptake. It's not jolty at all, which is really nice. It actually feels really comfy already. I know obviously I've only been on it for about a minute. This has got like Michelin Power GP2 tyres or something like that on it. I really need to make sure they warm up a bit before I start throwing it around corners. Bear in mind the bike is cold. The quick shifter and blipper are very smooth. I'm actually very impressed. Oh, do you know what? Actually, I'm going to go this way because I know there's some nicer roads. Come on, old people. He's still wearing a Christmas jumper. It is not Christmas anymore, mate. So I was relatively worried that the 104 horsepower is going to feel, I guess, underpowered compared to my Super Adventure. Because in theory, this bike would be perfect for me. Besides the off-road stuff, it's super lightweight, it's got ample grunt. As a SuperMoto, comparing it to something like a Ducati Hypermotard, this is way more touring focused, like it's much smoother and it's way less sort of aggressive. I think you'd struggle with something like the Hypermotard to ride it as a touring bike. Like, I think you wouldn't want to stick your luggage on it and everything. And I know you can tour on anything, but that's just my personal opinion. That was the one thing I'd always been a little bit hesitant of, like, why would you want to tour on a SuperMoto? But then at the same time, the thing I love about my bike is that you ride the best part of 1,000 kilometers to get down to the south of France. Then you dump all your stuff at the hotel and you go and ride it in the mountains like it's a Super Duke. There are points where I think this is quite a cumbersome beast. Same thing with the GS, same thing with the Multistrada. They're fantastic bits of kit, but they weigh the best part of 1/4 of a ton. Whereas something like this is much lighter. Throwing it around some sort of switchbacks in the mountain, something like this would be way more fun and way less effort, I guess. While we're trying to get out of Hemel Hempstead city centre, let's just go through the screen. I don't know what options this has got on it. So you press your set button, it takes you into the menus. You've got your rider modes and everything. You've got your bike information. You've got your trip information. And then down the bottom it looks like that's your settings. Going into ride mode, you've got street, sport, rain, track. Oh, it's got the track mode! Track mode is very much similar to my rally mode on my Super Adventure. So it allows you to just adjust way more. So let's do that. Close the throttle. Track mode! So you've got throttle responses. Oh yes, this is what mine's got. So you've got sport, rain and street on the throttle. You've got a slip adjuster, which is basically, you can see there, the lower the slip adjuster, the more the back end steps out. If that's anything like my bike, that will allow you to power wheelie a bit as well. Cool, those brakes are strong. You've got your ABS mode, your MTC and your MSR, which is your sort of traction control essentially. If you're a regular viewer of the channel, you know exactly what rally mode does. Your up and down buttons here adjust your traction control. It's got this tiny little screen, but I'm getting literally no buffeting at all. I'm wearing a peaked helmet as well, which can be known to sort of catch the wind. Oh, KTM, please, 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 can you make a SuperMoto touring version of the 1390? Bloody Nora. It definitely picks up. It definitely picks up. The other thing I thought I'd noticed quite quickly is the lack of like some form of dive control. On my Super Adventure I've got an anti-dive system where when you pull on the front brakes the suspension stiffens up at the front so you don't get the suspension dive. Every time I ride a bike that doesn't have something like that, I notice it very, very quickly. I'm not noticing it on this so far. Really flickable, like stupidly flickable. It's obviously got these the famous old ball bag tanks that my bike's got and the 890 Adventure has anyway, so that's going to hold the weight of the fuel way lower. Jesus! Okay, I wasn't expecting to go that quick. Obviously this has got manual suspension, it's not a semi-active system or anything. This is quite a bumpy road, like this one really throws you around. I can feel the bumps, however I don't feel like it's unsettled at all. It feels very, very planted, even on these sort of summer sticky tyres in these kind of greasy roads we've got at the moment. Obviously I'm not throwing it around corners, primarily because I don't want to throw it down the road. The brakes, they're not bad. They're really not bad, and they will stop you, but they've got that kind of, not hesitation, but you know when you're riding in really heavy rain and you pull on the brakes and it takes a one rotation of the brakes to clear the disc. It almost feels like that before they bite, but they do still, I mean, to be fair, when you pull on really hard they work really well. There's no struggle of power here at all. Right, he's going left. I'm going to follow this guy because he's on a sports bike and it sounds like he knows roughly where he's going. Yeah, he looks like a knob. Oh, nearly slipped there, did you, sir? Someone's got summer tyres on. Yeah, there really is no issue with overtakes. I mean, if you didn't sit so far up his arse, then you probably wouldn't have to be on your brakes 24/7. As per usual with any of these new bikes, it definitely needs an exhaust. Like most new bikes nowadays, it sounds a little bit sewing machine-y. Oh my god! Although it hasn't got heated grips, my hands aren't cold at all, and I know I'm wearing these Gerbing gloves which are very good in the cold weather. My hands still do get a little bit cold if I'm riding a bike without any handguards or heated grips, and my hands are fine, so the handguards are obviously doing something. This bike would be absolutely phenomenal on a dry bit of road. I'm having to be very careful because these are really greasy roads, and I got my traction control wound right down. Bloody Nora, this thing is so nimble. There's a view over the Dunstable Downs. It wants to be thrown around in like proper aggressive attack mode. That's what it wants, and I love that. Absolutely love it. I've got on this a bike I've never ridden before. Yes, okay, I've ridden like 890 Adventures and it's very similar in the sense, but it's got a 17-inch front wheel. It's got tyres on that are made for sort of summer, not this time of year, not 5 degrees and sort of slimy roads. Yeah, I'm throwing it around like I've owned it for 6 months riding these kind of conditions. One thing I am enjoying as well, I know this switch is like slightly old. It's something that's been on a lot of bikes, a lot of 890s, 890 Duke and everything. So it does look a little bit dated. However, it's really easy to use, like really easy, like just really quick to get that. Horns there, everything works. 1 second. Emma, I don't think we can have kids. Oh, that was a big bump. Oh. And breathe. The TFT could be a bit bigger. What I mean by that is there's a lot of like surround for the TFT, so it would be quite nice. I don't think the form factor it needs to be bigger, but again, it's similar to the GS, I guess. That actual screen could be slightly bigger, it would look quite nice. There is quite a lot of plastic around the front. I didn't like that on the old 1290 because it felt like it looked cheap, whereas that doesn't look cheap. Like, it's not grey plastic, it's a very nice dark plastic that looks half decent quality. So it's not like a crap plastic, but it does look, it is plasticky, you can tell that. Should have turned the ABS off so I could do and skid. Keyless ignition is nice, because like my bike I can just get on it and turn it on and go. However, you definitely don't need it, and a lot of people will actually say that they don't want keyless ignition. Plus I assume the system weighs quite a lot. Keyless fuel cap would weigh quite a lot in comparison. All the extra wiring and gubbins to go with it would weigh quite a lot. Plus it's something to go wrong. So yeah, it's not the end of the world that it hasn't got keyless. The new 990 Duke has got nice updated black switchgear, which looks really fresh. So I think that would be cool to have. The mirrors have been fine, to be fair. I haven't actually noticed them at all, but like I can see out of them at sort of any point. Sorry, 1 second. That was all suspension travel. If someone's watching this and they think I've just done a wheelie, it wasn't. It was just suspension travel, promise. Talking of suspension, really supportive. Seems to just hold you really nicely in the corners. It is quite firm, but then that's what you want from a bike like this. You don't want a soft, wallowy bike in any way, but it is adjustable. So that's a big plus. The rear brake is, yeah, I mean, it's a rear brake. The front brakes, when they're warm, they work really, really well. Let me try that again. Bloody Nora. Well, my organs have just left my body. I seem to be hitting the rev limiter quite quickly. Can't see. Oh my god, this thing is brilliant. It just like, you can just throw it around. And I'm not having to lean off the bike to get it to turn. It just goes, it just turns the corner. But it's super fast, super torquey for the overtakes. The delivery of the power is really, really linear. It doesn't feel like it's going to launch off the back of the bike. There's no surprises, I think that's the big thing. 2.5 years into owning the Super Adventure, I'm still shocked by it, if that makes sense. I still get on it and go, bloody Nora, this thing's quick. This thing is very quick, but I don't think it'd shock you, if you know what I mean. I don't think it'd catch you out by any means, which makes it probably a better bike, a more predictable bike to ride. Arguably like maybe a safer feeling bike than a 1290. So it depends what you're looking for in a bike. I think you wouldn't have any trouble at all keeping up with mid-weight sports bikes or anything like that. Street Triple RS, MT09, anything like that. This thing will keep up all day long. All day long. And 15.5 litre tank or something like that. So you've got 200 odd miles worth of range. When you decide that you want to go down to the Nürburgring or wherever you want to go with your mates, this can do it in a lot of comfort. There's a huge amount of room on the seat to move around, so if you are tall and you like sitting further back, there's loads of room. Oh, I'm gonna have to slow down. Bob, 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 bob. I mentioned the exhaust earlier. This is essentially the same engine that's in the Norden 901. There's a guy that frequents Bike Stop who's got a Norden 901 and he's just stuck at, I think it's an Arai can on his, and it sounds unbelievably good. So if you stuck one of those on this, there's your answer to that noise. God, I'm really enjoying this bike. I don't really want to take it back. What's quite nice about the seat is it's quite thick around where your arse is, if that makes sense. But where your crotch is, it's a bit thinner, which basically means you can get your legs down. So it is quite a tall bike, but then I personally haven't had any problems to get my feet down, which is great. Bloody Nora, this thing takes off. Yeah, I feel very confident in this already, and I've only been riding it for like an hour or two. And we throw it in here. Yeah, because that's what it wants. It's that kind of, almost like that, where you stick your leg out, like proper motocross style. That is exactly how you ride this thing. I know I've said this a million times before, but the KTM Centre have literally, these guys, KTM and Husky, they're brilliant. I love them so much. They've done a good deal for me on all my servicing and everything. They're lovely. They offer me a coffee every time I walk in the door. They're always happy to help me out with stuff. Yeah, love them. Absolutely love them. Let's have a quick wander around it. It's got the same LEDs that you obviously have in the 890 Adventure, so they're nice and bright. You've got the decent little DRLs that run around them, LED indicators all round, all of it. I really like that, you know. Really like that. Nice little rack so you can actually fit your top box and stuff on it. Yeah, that was a lot of fun. I don't really want to be back. I might go and ask Mark if I could take it out for another hour. There you go. Right, thank you very much for joining me. Let me know what you think in the comments. And I'm going to go and see if they've got the 1390 Super Duke ready for demo yet. Thanks for joining me, and I'll see you in next week's video. Bye.